Welcome back once again to the Chelsea Roar, a Chelsea podcast by the fans for you, the fans. I am your host, Ian Kelly, and welcome back to the third episode of the Chelsea Roar. Thank you so much so far for the support. It's been a slow build, but we're getting there and we really appreciate it. And we got Paul Cannaville, shout out to him, who gave the Twitter a follow today as well. Shout out to you, Paul. We love you here. And the man that you see to my right or your left, depending on your peripheral vision and where it is on your Googling devices, you'll notice that he has a lot of Chelsea stuff in the background. That is because he is a Chelsea boy like myself, Mr. Alex Byrne, my good friend. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you for having me on. I know we've had Niall on, who's been doing a fine job, but odd choice in football team from Niall, but nobody's perfect. But us being Chelsea fans just gets a little bit nearer to it. And yes, I'm happy to be on because you launched this originally before Major co-host, and I was unfortunately super busy. So whenever I can, I like to come on and just chat about Chelsea because it's not a job doing this; it's fun just talk about our football team.
Absolutely, and of course, you will be seeing a lot of Alex over the course of this existence. So, Alex is a traveling man as well. He was over at the game last week. He's also over at the semi-final in Wembley this weekend. But the game that we are here to speak about today is basically today's game. It's today. By the time we're bringing this out to you, it's today's game. It's the second leg of Chelsea v Real Madrid, or Real Madrid v Chelsea, if you want to be technical. You were at Chelsea v Real. You were over at the bridge. Literally 3 days after I had left the bridge, you replaced me, which is okay. I like that. I happened to get the weather, but I also happened to get a hammering from Brentford. We kind of got a bit of a hammering from Real, but kind of same story where it was more of our own doing than
it's kind of a sad story where I went to the 3-1 loss, but it was the better result. It's a sad few days.
It's one of those ironic things that you just can't control, unfortunately. And I mean, obviously the Brentford game being a freak result, one happens every year. Rewind back to West Brom last year. But Real Madrid, I mean, look, it was a very strange game. We're not going to do a match review of it, but I suppose we'll touch on it. The atmosphere was absolutely electric, unlike the atmosphere that I was at with Brentford. Brentford was absolutely shocking. I think even if you were watching the game, you probably felt that. I was the crazy Irishman in the East Lower, trying to tell the people that were around me that we're not at a snooker game, we're at Chelsea. Come on.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, I suppose I always sit Matthew Harden lower because, Matthew Harden and the Shen, they're kind of the two main ends. But yeah, I suppose it was a big European night. And, it was. I know that we obviously won the Champions League last year, but you got to remember this was the first quarter final of the Champions League at Stamford Bridge since I think 2014.
Yep.
So I mean, this is like 8 years since we've had proper, quarterfinals of the Champions League, full house. So the place was buzzing. I was in the pub before that, shit out to the butcher's hook across the road from Stamford Bridge. The atmosphere is unbelievable, non-stop sleep. There you go, where Chelsea were founded in 1905 as well.
Yeah.
But but it was really really good atmosphere, really good buzz. But I know we're not in the match review, but the Benzema, the 2 goals were kind of a sucker punch, kind of took the atmosphere out. Havertz scoring got the atmosphere back, and then it was a case of when we got that third goal with Mendy. It kind of it was like a fucking balloon deflating. You could just feel like all the energy was gone. But I think, though, we've been hit and miss at the bridge. I think one thing that's in our advantage, it is going to be a very difficult task, but we saw at the weekend, we are good away from home. And that's a big thing with us. We are good away from home. Now, I mean, I was sitting there after that game going, look, no, we're not going to do this. I think even Tuchel came out and said, look, if we play like this, we're not going to do it. And like people critique Tuchel saying, was he right to come out and say that? Look at that game at the weekend. He knows exactly what he's doing.
It was the first time we've really seen Tuchel take that kind of Klopp route of being super pissed off. And, I felt it. I felt it too. I mean, I don't think the game, upon reflection, I don't think we played as bad as some people thought. There was maybe a 20 to 25-minute spell where we really played into Madrid's hands, and that's where the damage was done. And look, they were two worldies from Karim Benzema. I mean, I'm sure at your angle, you were at that. So you probably you were at that, weren't you?
I was
you
at
were the
the
opposite. Yeah,
other goal, so
you were the
we see it
hardened.
from behind. But that first header was just, as soon as it came in, we were like, "That's a goal!" Like,
And then the
nobody stopping that.
second one is one of the best headers I've ever seen. I mean, that brought me back to Chris Sutton days, but with Blackburn, not with Chelsea. It was, or Celtic even. No, that was fantastic. It was. There's nothing you can really. I mean, look, Vinicius Junior absolutely cooked us down that left hand side. Christensen, look, I mean, he got a lot of critique, including from me, including everyone, I'm sure. But we have to remember it was his first game back, and after an international break too, he wasn't match fit. I personally thought, which is what we're going to get into today, I thought he should have put Azpilicueta in that position and put James at right wing back, and then have Marcos Alonso play at left wing back, whereas Marcos Alonso, the game previous, played at left full against Brentford, which made absolutely no sense, because it was like I was literally right at pitch side watching him and going, this is not his game. But
that's the thing, though. I mean, Marcos Alonso, I always say, he's a double Brazilian. You play him a left wing back, he's Roberto Carlos. You play him a left back, he's Andre Santos.
That's it. And when you get him on the run and you get the ball to him, as we seen against as we witnessed against Southampton, he does those little things so well. It looks like he's going to lose the ball at any time because he's so tall and lanky, but the ball just sticks to him when he's in those positions. Whereas if you get him chasing back, forget about it. It's let's get on to today's game though.
Yes.
Right. So first bit of news, obviously, still no Callum Hudson-Odoi, no Romelu Lukaku, which is probably music to the ears of most Chelsea fans. No offense.
We told you bad news and then followed by good news.
Yeah, no offense to Romelu, but it's just not happening. And it's not going.
If we can just, I know, again, we're not doing a match review, but again, we just saw the difference. You mentioned the two words from Karim Benzema. You saw Lukaku come on in that game, 6 yards out, middle of the goal, completely unmarked, doesn't even hit the target. I think we've been cliche and we've given up. I think that was the point where every single fan around me in the stadium said, get him out, just get rid of him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you cannot miss those headers. I remember back, I think it was World Cup, was it 2002, I want to say, possibly. And Christian Vieri was just missing headers non-stop. He was missing sitters that, like, that's your bread and butter, mate. And I remember the Italian fans going, nah, forget about it. And it's kind of, I don't know why that came into my head, but it's similar with Lukaku. He's at that point now where he's missing the simple things that he's paid to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then blaming other players behind him, blaming anyone but himself. Look, I'm sure we'll do a podcast on Romelu Lukaku when it's all said and done. I don't want to spend too much time on the guy. It is what it is. No hate, just literally. I've always said that I want to present this as an honest Chelsea football club podcast, for the fans, by a fan. And I mean that because, when we're at the games and stuff like that, you run into the real fans, you know what I mean? It's not Twitter, it's not Twitterverse here. So I'm not here just to kind of slag someone's hairdo or kind of mock the person personally. For me, it's all about what Lukaku does or hasn't done on the pitch, and that goes for any other player as well. So that's what we're trying to do here. And so Lukaku's not in. Who else hasn't travelled? But Cesar has travelled. He's obviously got a positive test, a negative test. So he's on board. You could put that lad on the sidelines for 2 weeks and he'd still be fit. Probably not in his greatest form. We can see the decline gradually, but good Lord, the man has heart.
Yeah.
And
I think it's similar to a Branislav Ivanovic in the sense that we saw
yes,
Branislav, one of the best right backs you've ever seen in the club. In my opinion, people will say one or two. Second only to Azpilicueta for that right back spot for the club. But yeah, we saw. I think it was
no Albert
we
Ferrer,
finished in
love,
his.
no. Rescue?
Ferreira, I do love Ferreira, but just Dave is the new Mr. Chelsea.
Oh,
But
it wasn't even. I
very
wasn't even
responsible
saying
Dave
Paulo
thing.
Ferreira. I was going back to Albert Ferrer.
Oh, Albert Ferrer, of course. Well, look, you gotta love Albert Ferrer, but I love Dave, man. But yeah, you can see it. Like,
Yeah.
I think the thing about Dave is, and we saw it a little bit under Maurizio Sarri when he came in. He had those couple of seasons at right centre back, and he also aged a little bit. I think when he got out of there, he was 30 when he came out of the right centre back. And when you go back there with those extra couple of years at the end of your 20s playing centre back, it's very different playing right back again. And we saw him cut out a bit. I go back to the game where we lost 6-0 to City, and he was kind of given the runaround by Raheem Sterling. So I think with Azpilicueta, right centre back is his position, like, because people talk about the Champions League final against City, people forget he dropped a masterclass in that final as well in defending.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was going to say. So with the players available, you're the guest, so why don't you give me your 11? It would only be right.
My
And
11.
see how they match up with mine.
The 11 I'm going to go with
formation
is
first. Formation first.
I'm going to go the tried and trusted 3-4-2-1.
I knew it.
You
you avoid the three at the back. It's I know I do too. So
we're a three at the back team. Some teams are just three at the back, and we are.
We are. I agree. So you're okay. Cool. I'm interested. You've got my interest.
Okay, I'm gonna go Mendy in goals. I know people are saying after the last one, look, Mendy, people forget, is still a top keeper. Okay, look, he made a mistake. It was a disaster what happened for that third goal. Look, move on. I wouldn't say, throw Kepa in there as a result. No, stick with Mendy. He is our best goalkeeper.
He needs to stop thinking he's a baller with the ball at his feet, though, doesn't he? Yeah, that's
exactly. Now, I'm one of these people. I have a lot of love for Kepa. I really, really like the guy. I think he's really come on leaps and bounds since his early days. And, all power to him. He's the kind of keeper when he comes on, I feel happy. But not for this one, I say stick with Edouard Mendy.
Me too. Okay.
Then my back three is, I'm going to go with my favorite back three. I think what our best back three is Dave, Silva, and Rudy.
Okay. Thiago's obviously in there. That's he's
of course, yeah. Thiago Silva. He is that defense.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So good solid three at the back you're going for. Okay, I like that. So who are we going at right wing back then?
Right wing back, gotta be Reece. Be Reece.
He was rested
and
most of the Southampton game, wasn't he? So it's the writing's on.
He was. And what I always say is, and I coined this term when I was actually at Stamford Bridge the last time with me mate at the Madrid game, it says, I want him on all the corners and I want him on all the free kicks just so we can have Reece's set pieces.
Fair. That's fair. In fact, at the Brentford game, where we were positioned in the East Lower, he was warming up with Kova, and obviously we were kind of like at the far end of the East Lower, so like obviously the away fans were right above us, and some of the abuse they were shouting down at the two boys was absolutely. Now, it wasn't, in fairness to the Brentford fans, it wasn't that children shouldn't hear, and it was just really angry, British football banter, and we'd see Reece looking up, and you're like, this lad looks like a middleweight boxer standing in front of you. Like, one of these lads gets on the receiving end of a right hook there. But Kova, shout out to Kova. He actually, they were shouting something at Kova, and he actually ran up to them right in front of them, and he was just like that. It was just fantastic. But Reece just looked like, he has those little squinty eyes, and he's just like, he looks like he's like a football equivalent of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, he's a rattlesnake. He's just ready to pop off. But yeah, Reece James, great to have him back. And
for the wrestling fans out there, we've seen some Reece James as gold. Stone Cold Reece James, not adverse to a stunner.
There you go. We're making magic here on this here podcast today. You see the reference? This here podcast.
This here podcast. Right. You want to see me open up a can of whoop ass from Real Madrid? Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So left wing back. I'll let you say. I could guess
left wing back. Yeah, it's got to be Marcos Alonso, because I think that he stuck Dave in a left wing back against Real Madrid. We've got to be honest, it didn't work. He didn't look natural there. He didn't look comfortable. I think with Alonso, as much as he does lack defensively, going forward is what you need, and we need to go for it tomorrow. well, today, even on the
Well,
quarterback here, breaking kayfabe.
yeah,
We need to go for it later on today. But as well as Alonso, like his granddad won the European Cup with Real Madrid. So think about what it will mean to him to play in that stadium against that opposition. He'll want to be, and they let him go when he was a youth. So
big Real
he'll be
Madrid
hell bent.
fan,
He'll be out
isn't
there
he?
going, no, I want to
Big
prove a
Real
point
Madrid
here.
fan.
Yes. He'll
Yeah.
want to prove a point out there.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah, I concur. Right, so give me your midfield.
Midfield is, I'm going to go with, because we saw that last week. We lost the midfield battle. We had that in there. And look, all respect to him, Jorginho just was not in that game last week at all. He really
Jorginho
was
has not been the same player since even before the World Club Championship. For me, he's not been as consistent as he's kind of gone. I don't want to be mean to the guy because I fucking love the guy. I have his Italian jersey in there as well. But look, like I said, it's an honest football podcast about Chelsea from Chelsea fans, and I gotta be honest and call what I personally see. I do implore anybody that disagrees with anything that we have to say to let us know in the comments. Absolutely. But yeah, I feel like he's resting on his laurels a little bit, and I think we're starting to see that kind of sideways, backwards passing from Jorginho that a lot of people criticised under Sarri. Would I be wrong in saying that?
No, you are right in saying that. And also, the thing about Jorginho is, again, not a knock on the guy. I love Jorginho, same as you. There's no urgency.
No.
There's no urgency. Like when I was at the bridge last week and whenever he had the ball, we were screaming, go. And there was one point in the game where he was holding, he was waiting, and he didn't play a pass to his man. And we're like, how are you doing that? Taking so long to play a pass. So I think for the speed that Madrid play, because we saw how devastating they were in the counter,
especially
I don't think it's a game that suits them. Yeah, especially that trio. So I think that in terms of my midfield too, it's probably very predictable. Got to go with the two Ks, Kova and Kante.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, man of the hour. Okay, so front three. I'm just going to say it to save time. I'm pretty much with you in formation.
Yeah.
And choices all the way up to now. Players, formation, I'm with you. I would not change anything. The front three is what I'm interested in now, because this could be debate time. Possibly.
To be honest with you, I'm going to be very boring about this. I'm going to go with the same front three we played against Southampton.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. In my opinion, the best front three that Chelsea have. The same front three that won us the Champions League, that pretty much got us on the dance. To the dance, should I say. I think, listen, I want to just say one thing. At the weekend, Timo Werner, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person.
Unbelievable.
To a better
Unbelievable.
person. That was the Leipzig Werner because he's playing against a team and playing in a system that suits him. That interchanging with Coy and Mount was fantastic, and that's where you get the best.
It was.
Timo, a lot of people think Timo runs headlessly, and sometimes he does, but there's a method to it. He actually takes players out of position. Case in point, the goal in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Defenders actually do worry about him because you're like, well, what Timo are we going to get today? You can't just kind of look at him and go, it's only Timo Werner.
Absolutely.
He runs differently to most other players, doesn't he? He's a very tricky little character, like.
And people forget about his first season. Like, I know people say his first season, he scored 12 goals, not much of a return. He had 16 goals disallowed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that gives you nearly 30 goals in the season.
Well, he would have had 5 goals the other day.
I think with Timo Werner,
if he hadn't hit the bar.
Yeah, but I think the thing about Timo is, look, I'm slaying on myself, so you do get frustrated. But the thing with Timo is, we say he's always offside. He makes that he needs the ball early. If he gets the ball early, he's away because he has that extra yard. We saw that, with the his first goal of the weekend. He took it down, needed it on, bang, gone, past the keeper before he even knew what was going on. I actually thought his best moment of the game, and the big moment, okay, here's the player we bought, was when Havertz scored, when he beat the defender, got around the other one and hit the post.
Beat a couple of players, boom, straight. Like the only thing, he hit it with venom, because sometimes we give out about Timo not having that venom in his shots. He hit that with venom. And then, but look, man, I want to talk about the king in a minute. The new king,
The new king on the block.
The heir to the great Peter Osgood's throne. This,
or as we like to call him, as I like to call him, Didier Havertz.
I'll have that. Didier Peter Havertz.
There you go.
There we go. We got a new one. DPK. Let's get that trending. No, I mean, just the grace that he was able to tap that in with as well. You know, after it hit the bar, and you could see Timo's frustration after it, just going, "Oh!" But then he turns around for the team. The guy is such a team player. I know, say Torres and Shevchenko are two great examples of failed Chelsea strikers that people like to throw at us Chelsea fans, right? Now, you can see why sometimes people might say that, because I've actually went back and looked at a lot of these so-called failed signings. And I wouldn't put Shevchenko and Torres more so than Shevchenko. I think was a bit more successful in terms of how he ended up. What he done. Shevchenko just broke my heart because I mean I was such a big fan. He just didn't fit a Mourinho system, and that's it. Bottom line.
And
he just didn't get the balls that he wanted.
I think the age he came to England as well.
Yeah, he came in at 30, and like at that time, you know, you're technically in your prime years, but prime years going into a brand new league, a new team, and then a completely different system just didn't work. Torres, it took him time, but I still think he paid us back with that goal against Barcelona.
He did.
He won us the corner, so I don't care.
Exactly, but the thing with me, with Torres and with Werner, the reason that I love them and the
They're
reason
similar,
I always show them support, they are similar.
Yeah.
But the reason I will always show them support is because they never stopped running. They kept going and kept working, and they had the best attitude. That's why with Morata, I gave up on because of the attitude. Torres and Werner have A+ attitudes, and they don't stop.
And now Lukaku has the same type of attitude.
There you go. Remember, he came out and he said that. That was the bit that annoyed me the most about the interview that he did, because that ruined everything. That soured everything. Let's call a spade a spade. And the thing is, I know he said with the fans, what really annoyed me the most is when he complained about, Chelsea aren't changed their system to suit me. They won the Champions League with that system.
Well, what really bothered me, I suppose, if I'm laying my cards on the table here, with the Twitter kind of Chelsea fans and then the real Chelsea fans, a lot of the Twitter fans brought this whole race thing into it, like, which is just the way of Twitter now, right? It's the world of wokeness and stuff like that, and that really bothered me. It's like, no, listen, we love this. You can't say that, because Didier Drogba is our fucking hero. You know what I mean? This is nothing to do with race, and this is why it really bothers me with a lot of Twitter fans, and I'm sure it does you. We've had this conversation before. Listen, I've heard the great Paul Canaville fucking talks about it as well. It's like, guys, get off this hill. It's not the hill to die on. I like to use that analogy a lot. Like, it's not the hill to die on. It's down to one fact and one fact only, is that he done that interview, and he done it behind the backs of the club. He accepted the fine, knowing that he done wrong, and he's never been the same since. And I don't know, but some may call that instant karma in a way. But the problem is,
I think so.
He's not the one that misses out. We do. Yeah. Our team has been affected by it because we thought we were buying this goal scorer, and I'm very, very sure. I know we're going off topic here, but I'm very, very sure that now that the sanctions are in place, he was told, Tuchel was told to play him without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, because now you see Chelsea as we should be.
And I was going to say as well, speaking of Tuchel, because just a quick note about him, given this season, okay. Given, the Lukaku interview, all the injuries he had, the fact that we were the only club that weren't allowed to postpone any games due to COVID, which I'm still pretty annoyed about. We're the only club that were denied any requests to do that. The sanctions with Abramovich, and the fact that, everything going on with his wife, all the personal stuff, right?
And given all 30 second segments as well on Match of the Day at the weekend.
Exactly. Now, given all of that, right, if you consider taking all of that into one crazy season that most managers will crumble under, he's won us the Super Cup. He's won us a Club World Cup. He got us to the final of the Carabao Cup. We're in the semi-final of the FA Cup. We are in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. And if we win our game in hand against Arsenal, we're 9 points off the top of the league. If you consider all those factors, and he's still done that, wow. What I wouldn't swap him for any manager in the world.
Me neither. I think everything that he's done. Listen, I'm always going to be a Mourinho guy. I love Antonio Conte and Carlo Ancelotti as well. I mean, I love them all. I'm a Chelsea fan. It's not. You have your favorites. We all do. I have some friends who Carlo Ancelotti is their favorite manager of all time, and
it was a great season. They're
not wrong. I've some fans that Antonio Conte is their favorite manager of all time, but for me, Tuchel has become my favorite manager of all time because of everything that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
What he's had to deal with is just...
Yeah. I personally think if we stick with this guy, and I think we will, because he said he's happy in London. He says he loves managing Chelsea. I think if we stick with this guy, when these new owners come in, whoever they are, if they stick with him and get him on side, he could go down as our best ever manager, given how he started.
Right. Well, you pick your team. We'll get to the score predictions in a while, but now that while I have you on, why not spend like maybe 2 or 3 minutes talking about that? New ownership, right? Obviously, it's clear as day that it's between the Ricketts family and the Todd Bowley group. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where I'm happy with either or. I just want, because the Ricketts family obviously have the most money. The Bowley group are talking. They seem to, as I said on my previous podcast with Niall, they seem like they're happy to operate under the kind of FSG type model, which also gives me hope that they would all this leads it on to my next point. If you're coming in and you want to appease the Chelsea fans, no matter which group you are, right?
Yeah.
You're given that 4-year contract to Tommy Tuchel, aren't you? And saying, you have a hand now in who we bring into the club.
Yes.
So 2 questions for you. That's the first one. Okay. Do you give him that 4-year contract, which you've already answered? Do we get Marina involved? This is a little bit of a touchy subject on Twitter.
Oh, gosh. I think...
Or do you bring in your own people and actually get the fan base around, like John Terry with the golden share and stuff like that, and try and look across Europe, or even Martin Edwards? Is it Martin Edwards?
Yeah, Martin Edwards.
He's available.
Liverpool. Yes. I think that with Marina now, she's been great for us, the Iron Lady. I think she's done a wonderful job with everything.
I love her, but she's also fucked us up as well.
She has, but what as I said to my friend, speaking as a Chelsea fan, I love her, but as a guy, I'd sign whatever she wanted me to sign, because she's also an extremely attractive woman. But look, a brilliant woman. And
I'd say that's how most of the deals got done.
But the thing is, I think that if you're a new group coming in, like for example, what was it, Michael Edwards? He worked with SFG and with Liverpool. He was integral to that system, and it's a case of he's the kind of guy you want. And also
director of football, fantastic.
Yes. And I would have personally Petr Cech working very closely with him.
Yep, me too. And like if you look at that and you have like a trio of him, Petr Cech, someone like him. I'm not saying get him specifically, but you look across Europe and you go, right, let's get someone like that in. Petr Cech. I mean, Petr Cech isn't going anywhere. There's no, I don't believe so. Anyway, Bruce Book.
He loves it there.
Bruce Book will probably be gone and do what he wants. But then again, Bruce Book might not be gone. I mean, he's very close with the Ricketts and stuff like that, and a lot of this stuff has kind of come off. That for me, I'm not. I was over there on the day of the protest, and I saw the 12 people that were there with Sky Sports, and there was actually more cops there than there was.
Wasn't quite the Super League protest.
Yeah, like exactly. Do you know, because that was a reason for a protest. This has become political. It's political.
Yes.
Oh well, the Ricketts like Donald Trump. Well, so what? Like so what? Like this is we're going into something different. And it was funny because we were in the Butcher's Hook watching outside. And a couple of the lads said, guarantee you in a year's time, if the Ricketts come in and do everything that they say they'll do, they'll redevelop the bridge while we're still playing and redevelop it, where we don't have to move and stuff like that. In a year's time, and they're bringing players in, this will be forgotten about.
Too right. And I will admit, I did kind of get a bit of a bit of nostalgia out of that when they were saying, "Oh, read about at the bridge while we're playing there." I was like, "Throw back to the '90s, everyone."
Me too, man. Yeah,
with the board behind the goal.
Even going back to the 80s, that was the 80s. It was the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I always remember Zola with that goal against United with the board in the background.
When it was getting redeveloped, Vialli scored the hat trick against Liverpool, believe it or not, in the
cup,
in the FA Cup. Yeah, Vialli changed it
a year or two, didn't we?
We did. That was the year Di Matteo scored that absolute rocket in 16 seconds just to match his number 16 on the back. So look, as we kind of close up here, I mean, look, you and me are both kind of happy with either or. I think they both look like pretty good prospective buyers. They're saying the right things. And at the end of the day, you can go into hypothetical all day long and, question things until it's done. It has to be done. You know what I mean? And we have the April 18th is now the final deadline day. Thankfully, we know that by the end of next week that the bids will be presented to the UK government and that'll be it. So we'll watch that space, and I'm sure you'll come on and we'll talk about,
of course,
about
one thing I will say though is whoever does come in and whoever is taking over, you're going to have to do well, because in my opinion, you are following what is the greatest owner in football
history. Football history. Yeah.
Considering that he took this club out of the dump and made it the powerhouse of English football for a long time, and since he's come in, nobody's won as many trophies in English
it also
football
says
as us. He won us everything, and how fitting was it that he won that Club World Cup to finish it?
Yeah, not to get too political either, but also just look at what he's doing right now. You know what I mean? He's trying to.
Zelensky has come out and said, "Don't sanction him." He's trying to help.
So,
but look,
the UK government should hang their heads in shame. I'm just going to say that UK government should hang their heads in shame. Gary Neville and co should hang their heads in shame while Gary Neville is sitting there over in Qatar talking about the World Cup, and then acts like this little moral high ground rat that he is. That's all I have to say about that.
And that's the last thing I'll say is, if we are doing up the bridge, I'm all for naming one of the stands after him.
100%. 100%.
Probably the West Stand where he had his box.
Yeah, 100%.
That's just me. If you guys agree, let me know. But that's just how I feel.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. And look, I'm sorry if I offended people by calling Gary Neville a little rat, but I think the way he's acting,
Your fan base in Liverpool just went up.
Yeah, but they are little rats the way they talk on Sky Sports. Like they put this high moral high ground kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden they're there like, oh, Gary Neville and Qatar talking about come on, don't act like you're
I suppose the quote Jose when he was a manager, he says, "When I finish managing, I will go into punditry because they don't have a single Chelsea pundit."
At 75 years of age, he said so.
He will do that.
He said and he will.
That's why you need to check out BT as well, folks. You got Joey Cole and all the Chelsea guys.
BT is absolutely fantastic. And by the way, if you want real punditry, I have to say Mac Manaman, and in particular Rio Ferdinand is fantastic. He's so impartial. Rio has just, I mean, as a player, I didn't think I could hate anyone more. But my God, he is such a great guy. Just absolutely love Rio Ferdinand. I believe in everything he talks about, everything he stands for. He loves his club, Man United, but he calls it down the middle. Do you know what I mean? Just calls it down the middle. Listen, Gary Neville does too. It's just sometimes Gary Neville, it's like you're being a hypocrite now. You know what I mean? You're giving out about all these owners and stuff, and now you're back in Qatar because Sky Sports are telling you to. So, no, you're a phony, in my opinion.
I think the best thing we could do, though, as Chelsea, is to annoy them on, just keep winning, and hopefully, starting later today, hopefully, look, I thought we were dead in the wood, but given what happened on Saturday against Southampton, look, there's always hope. I mean, 3-1 down to Napoli in 2012.
Okay, now you've got me right. So these are the times to call for your predictions.
Oh gosh, it's so hard to think, because like me, logic is saying, "Oh, it's not going to happen," but I'll go with 2-0 Chelsea, and Chelsea won on penalties.
Oh my God. You've literally, I've called 2-0
Yeah.
in normal time. I predict an early goal. I think Coy is going to do the business again. And I think Mount is going to step up. Mount or
Mason, the man
Werner.
that we left out of saying they're starting level, Mason is in there given how he's played at the weekend.
Listen, Mason is Mason. I don't get the Mason hate. It absolutely baffles me.
And also Mason did something outstanding at the weekend, which say with me, folks, he shot from outside the box.
Yep.
And he scored.
And a belt.
Let's have more of that.
And a belter. So well look, I'm going to go 2-0 as well, and I think we win it in extra time. I don't think we're going to have the heartache of penalties. Yeah. So
I think the big thing for tomorrow is, look, there's nothing to lose. If you go out there and you attack and you lose 4-2, at least you've given it your all. Don't come off and think to yourself, if there's this passing around the back and passing side to side, I will go mad. But if they go out there and they give their all and try and score, I'll have no complaints.
Yeah, we need to play with intensity and aggression and intensity in the right way, and we're gonna get into the next round.
Exactly,
Alex.
And one thing before we go, my one big word that we were screaming in the home leg that they need to do. One word: press, because they let that defense and that Snake Courtois have a field day back there when they had the ball.
100% press. 100% press. We need to pull, and don't forget, they don't have Melito either. So let's do this. Alex, been a pleasure to have you on. Until next time, which there will be a next time, we'll probably bring you on for the match reaction later in the week if you're available.
That's good.
And but continue supporting the Blues, guys and gals. Always stay true to the blue. Keep the blue flag flying high. Keep the faith, and remember, imagine not being Chelsea.